you're all doing good. Doing great here. Okay, I'm gonna get started. I think, like, let's start with the 15. Okay. Let's find the overall dynamics. I'm going to focus on the upper torso for the most part. It's quite the angle on the upper and lower torso here. Oh, shoot, that would help. Thanks, Margot. Yeah. In my eagerness to get drawing, I forgot to change the camera. Thanks for the heads up. Lucky someone told me. Okay. Typical. Okay, so this leg ever so slightly coming towards us. Let's find the aces sitting around there. Loud music, is it? Doesn't seem too loud to me, but okay. Take your word for it. Iliac crest. Never sure with the loud music thing. For some people it's absolutely fine, then others find any music too much. So you just never know. Okay, clavicles. Let's find the arch of the rib cage, sternum. Kind of thing going on. Halfway between the bottom of the rib cage, top of the iliac crest, gonna have the navel. It's gonna be sitting right about here. And there's actually this kind of lovely, this type of shape going on. Even though he's super lean, I'm kind of almost ever so slightly exaggerating the form, but I think it warrants it. Obliques are going to be sitting in there and there. Pectoral sitting just above the arch of the rib cage. Something like that. Oh, and I didn't set the timer either. I've been doing really well today. There we go. We'll say another, I don't know, 10-12 minutes. Sternocleidomastoid. Something like that. The head of the humerus is going to be sitting about here. This arm is coming out this way. Something like that. This arm is coming towards us, and the elbow is kind of right at this point where the rib cage meets up with the oblique. If you come across the form, the elbows are around here. Heavy foreshortening on this upper arm here, and then it goes back this way because he's holding a spear in there. Okay. from the aces, the mass of that tensor fasciae latae sitting in there, rectus femoris coming down this way, also sartorius coming down, dividing the leg there. See that tensor fasciae latae kind of bunched a little bit, this there, and then peeking behind it, gluteus medius. So we got this kind of idea going on, right? Our model today is he's wearing trunks, so we'll probably indicate that. Something like that. Deltoid attaches about 2/3 of the way along the clavicle, comes this way, meets up with the head of the humerus, bicep coming down here. The animations, yes, of course you can ask something, feel free. Latissimus sitting about there. That'll get us in the ballpark. Muy bien, Constantinas, gracias. ¿Y tú? Can I have a shout out? The animations, you just had one. Hope that helps. Of all the questions. You could ask anything. But that's fair enough. As you wish. Trapezius coming down. Spanish, barely. Just enough to answer a question like that, but please don't test me. It falls apart real quick. Is it better to hold a pencil like that? I think there are numerous, I think there's benefits to both ways of holding a pencil, handwriting style and this, some people call this overhand. The huge benefit from holding the pencil like this is you draw with the arm. You're drawing with your shoulder and your arm, and not really with your wrist, right? You won't really see my hand becomes an extension of what's going on with my arm. Why is that useful? Well, for a start, it forces you to draw larger and think in larger concepts. When we hold a pencil like this, we tend to get our brain tends to switch into handwriting kind of style, and we get much more detail oriented. When you hold it overhand, it kind of forces you to kind of think large, if that makes sense. But there's a place for both, I believe. But I mostly, for figure drawing, pretty much this is the only way I hold my pencil nowadays. I might, if I'm coming into a face or something, or I've got some really kind of small detail, you know, you might see a little bit of a switch, but rarely, especially when I'm doing these lives. Now, for my drawing, working in animation, it's all handwriting stance, so to speak, because I'm primarily working on a Cintiq. Even when we worked with pencils, though, it was kind of the same. But yeah, that's the answer. I have a whole video on it, and the video is called Maybe the Most Important Lesson I'll Ever Give. And truth be told, there's not too much hyperbole to that statement. I believe it's one of the most important things. And for me, especially even after working in animation for years, making this pencil stance change was absolutely, it changed everything for me. Changed the way I think about drawing, changed the way I see drawing. And it really was, for me, it was one of the most important changes I ever made. Thus, the statement. Trapezius. I'm just going in, obviously, I'm just fleshing out. A question with 2-minute poses. When I focus on getting the pose down from an angle, do I focus first on the head or torso? Should I keep things simple? Well, a 2-minute pose is essentially a gesture pose, right? And my feeling is, and whether it's a 2-minute pose or a 2-hour 2-minute pose, my approach is essentially the same, which is get down the large ideas first. What's the largest forms of the body? The upper and the lower torso. Find those first, find your supporting leg, if there is one, because that supporting leg will influence every large form moving up through the body. Things like heads, unless you're doing portraiture, things like heads are very much secondary. They're supporting the large idea, which is the body, right? So I absolutely would be mindful of that, you know, going into my drawing. It's like, what do I want to focus on? I want to focus on the large ideas. Makes sense? Bicep. Coming down this way. It's the first time I've been answered on a live stream. Well, the animations, I've been here for over a year doing these, so anytime. Part of the reason I do these is to answer questions. So I'm happy to hope it helps. Deltoid. Tricep. Brachioradialis. It's coming down this way. I hope you get more likes. Me too. That would be great. Well, tell your friends. The more people that know that I'm doing this, the more people that will show up. And hopefully the more likes. Alright, let's just keep going. I'm enjoying this one. I've got some good poses today. Okay, just keep going. Adam asked, question, I go to a life drawing group every Tuesday. All right, 100% of the time our model is sitting. My question is to you, can you show your method for how the torso and hip relate to each other when seated? That's a problem, that your model is primarily seated, because, well, obviously I don't know all the extenuating circumstances, but that feels to me like a huge missed opportunity for both the model and the artists. And in fact, if that's something that's not going to change and you really like going to life drawing, that's something you might want to look at as far as making a choice on where you go, because you're going to, especially if you're starting out, you're going to you're just going to be missing out on a lot of ideas that you need to kind of work through as far as posing goes. Like, there's a place for seated poses, don't get me wrong, but there's a big place for standing poses too, especially when you're, well, not even especially when you're starting out, always. Like, you know, it's an important thing. And obviously this is all going off screen, but it's somewhere in there. So yeah, that's really unfortunate. It is a 3-hour pose every week. Adam, I'm going to ask you a question. Is this your only access to figure drawing? Here's the thing, and also I want to follow that up with: are you a relative beginner? And the reason I ask this, and this is not to throw shade on anyone, but I'm just going to tell you just a fact, especially as someone who's kind of starting out. Most people don't know how to handle 3 hours. They don't have the required skill set to handle 3 hours, so they don't know what to do at that time. If it's a single 3-hour pose and you're not really competent at your craft, you're going to get an hour in and you're going to be floundering, because you're not going to know how to use that time and how to develop the drawing in a meaningful way. I don't really see, for most people starting out, I don't really see any value in a 3-hour pose, especially a single pose. That's kind of crazy. If it was portraiture, I guess you could make an argument for it. Personally, I would get bored out of my mind having to spend 3 hours on a pose. So that's very interesting. Question, between Flipper Clip and Blender, which is better for 2D animation for YouTube videos? I have no idea. The animations, I haven't really used either of those pieces of software. I obviously know about Blender. Flipper Clip, I'm not really too sure about. Just off the top of my head, I'm going to say Flipper Clip, because I know Blender's pretty involved. Flipper Clip sounds like it might be simpler, but maybe that's a huge error on my judgment. We didn't really use, in the productions I've worked on, we don't really use those software, either of those pieces of software. That's a really long time to ask a model to hold a pose also. Yeah, it is. And yeah, it would be great if they have breaks, but then when they have breaks, chances are they're going to come back and they're not going to be holding the pose the same. I can't imagine drawing more than 20 minutes from a model. No, me neither, to be quite honest. I just generally can't imagine spending more than... Well, we do go a little bit longer than that on drawings. You see, I would say I'm quite an impatient drawer. Generally speaking, if I haven't got down what it is that I want to say in a drawing in the first 20-25 minutes, I'm probably not going to. So yeah, it's one of the reasons why I draw in this style, and the idea of long, really long poses just holds no appeal. I'm too impatient. I like to move on. When I do a 45-minute pose, says Margot, we sometimes do a 45-minute pose, but most of us kind of scurry around the room to different spots. We always put tape so the model can get back in position, sure. Yeah, and that's 45 minutes. My friends always tell me Blender's better. Then, Yanni, why don't you try both? Right? Try both. You might find that one is good for one thing and one's good for the other. Reality is, if you're working in animation, you're probably going to have to get familiar with a bunch of different softwares anyway, right? In the industry, at least in kind of feature and TV production, TV Paint is used quite a bit, and obviously Toon Boom. I would say more studios are using Toon Boom than just about anything else these days. But that's not cheap. I think I'm going to call it with this drawing. I think it's kind of where it needs to be. Adam says, I appreciate the feedback. You're very welcome. I've been a plein air painter for many years, but over the past 2 years I've been working on figure drawing. Our model does 25 minutes, then 5 minutes, same pose for 3 hours. Man, I don't know if you could talk to... well, look, I don't know what the dynamic is with the group, but I'd put it up for a vote. How long do people really want these poses? As I said, I don't think most people know what to do with 3 hours for a pose. You know, I really don't. Like, it misses, I think it to some degree, at least in my mind, it misses the spirit of what drawing can be. Like, there's a place for it, but it should only be one part of a much more kind of rounded approach to drawing. Well, for what it's worth, well, as you've probably figured out already, we do these sessions here twice a week. You're obviously very welcome to join in these. Do you have like a Discord server? I do, but it's a member perk. I have a picture I've been trying to draw for a while, but it's not working. I want you to try. Yanni, with all due respect, you don't pay me enough. I've got many tips and tricks from you, sir. Great. I'm 19. What advice can you give me? I want to be an illustrator concept artist. Learn your craft. Learn your craft really well. learn to draw and paint really well, understand color theory, just the whole gamut. If you want to be a concept artist and an illustrator, learn those things. Also learn how AI is going to be part of your pipeline and your working environment moving forward, because AI is about to change everything in the next couple of years. It already is. And so it's very hard to say what the landscape, what the process is going to look like as this software takes more and more, you know, of a hold within the industry. It's happening whether we like it or not. It's reality. Yeah, I agree, Margot. I can't imagine 3 hours. That's crazy. Those of you who aren't members should join. I agree, Margot. Thank you. Then you can see the reference. Exactly. Nice. Yeah, I've got a podcast on the channel. If you go to my channel page, you'll see a podcast like area. I talked to a bunch of concept artists, character designers, illustrators. There's a few episodes up there. I'm only 13. Is there any way I can make money from my art other than YouTube? No, if you're making money off YouTube, man, then good on you. Is there any other way I can make money on my art other than YouTube? Yeah, like YouTube is, for a start, I don't know if you're making money off YouTube. I certainly would not. I'll start the timer. Let's go for 20 on this one. I certainly would not be relying on YouTube for a living. Your chances of it working out are pretty slim if you don't already have a following. Look, man, there's so much work in art. You know, animation, films, games, fine art. You know, you name it. Like there's 1,000 different directions you could go in with art. Learn your craft. Don't worry. Like unless you're having to support yourself at 13, don't worry about money right now. Learn to draw well. Learn to paint. Then the money will come. Don't be in a rush. It takes years to learn. To become a good artist, it's no different to learning the violin or something like that. It takes years of practice. I'm going to push this over a little bit. Margot says, I met a fellow once who was a Wari, right now well-known pinball machine artist. Who knew? Pinball artist, there you go. Signs. Think about you going like in the supermarket. Every package has art on it somewhere. Advertising. So many different areas that you can use to make a living from art. But I would also say this. For a start, it's incredibly competitive. There's a lot of very good artists out there. Don't be afraid necessarily of having a backup plan, because you just never know if you're going to need it. Especially at your age, I would say I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket. It's not necessarily an easy path to pick. And practice, 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 practice. Okay, so let's find our rib cage. It's sitting in here. Something like that. this arm. So here's our iliac crest. We can kind of get a sense for that, right? From the gluteus medius, elbow sitting right about here. Also keep in mind that the elbow is roughly halfway between the bottom of the rib cage and the top of the iliac crest, as is the navel. It picked on my voice. Oh, you're using voice to chat, huh? It's all going to change. It is all going to change, T2. You're 100% right. That doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. There is this prevailing kind of, and look, this is a very kind of complex and nuanced subject, especially with the data scraping and people not getting attribution and that, like, so I'm only talking about one aspect of this, but I think it's actually potentially a very exciting time to be in art, to be in commercial art. Even with AI coming, I think that there's still huge potential for a positive outcome. I do understand why people are threatened by it and get stressed out by it, but I think that there's a place for everything. But right now, people are in the sky is falling kind of mentality about it. And I think that will change as time goes on. Can you draw Superman in that pose? Maybe now in another video. No, I'm not drawing Superman. Sorry, no interest in drawing Superman. This is Superman. Just make him blue and you've got Superman. I don't draw superhero stuff. I don't draw other people's IPs unless they're paying me to. I don't see any value in it. I also don't want to be one of these artists that basically gets likes and recognition off drawing basically other people's ideas. No interest in that. Soulman says, I think eyes improve better than practice. Practice is important too, for sure, but eye takes time. What do you think? How are you going to train your eye without putting in the drawing? What, just looking at art? Can you explain what you mean by that? I think that they come hand in hand. Your eye develops as your skill develops. I don't think you can develop your eye and suddenly be a better artist. If that was the case, I wouldn't be drawing right now. Does that make sense? You have to keep it up, exactly. Dress for the grave, great name. What pencil? I'm using a General's Charcoal 6B. It's pretty much, 6B is pretty much the only pencil I use. Yeah. Why 6B, I hear you ask? Well, because the softer the pencil, the more potential range that that pencil has from light to dark. So that's why I picked it. Let's find the split of the tricep sitting somewhere in there, coming down to the elbow in here. Got our flexors and our extensors of the forearm coming down here. The deltoid, just starts to reveal itself right about here. Coming up. Somewhere in there. There's quite a lot of compression on this arm as it's pressing against the body. You're very welcome, Dress for the Grave. Great name. So we have a lot of muscles going on here on the scapula. 4 to be precise, the 4 muscles of the scapula: teres minor, teres major, infraspinatus, and supraspinatus. If you can take a look at them, if you're unsure what it is that you're drawing with those 4 muscles, especially in a case like this, it's very useful to just take a look at an anatomy book and see how those 4 muscles relate to each other. It's never going to answer all the questions because there's, then you've got the latissimus and the trapezius kind of layered over those as well to some degree or another. And with the tension and compression and depending on the pose, different muscles tend to reveal themselves. But you can start to get a sense, right? But it can be quite complex around the scapula when a pose is challenging. But good to have a general understanding of what it is that you're drawing. Okay, so we've got the oblique sitting in here. Then in here we have gluteus medius meeting up with the gluteus maximus. That's a lot of anatomical jargon for a single bone region. Well, it does sound it on first glance, but if you think about the scapula and how complex a system, the whole shoulder girdle, right, going from the clavicles, which obviously attach at the manubrium, the clavicles going up, meeting up with the acromion process of the scapula, the side bit, that little bumpy bit you have there, right? And then the scapula itself. When you think about the range of motion they have, it kind of warrants that there be quite a bit of jargon involved. We're talking about in some ways, one of the more complex muscular ideas of the human body, right? Look, I don't propose that you need to know all those names, but it's good to have a sense. If you understand what it is that you're drawing, even to some small degree, then you can make better choices, right? Of what it is that you want to draw and how you're going to draw it, rather than just kind of guessing. So there's a value in it, especially if you want to do this type of work. It's pretty important, actually. Bridgman is cooler than looks, and Hogarth. I'm not a big fan of either, if I'm honest. Especially Hogarth. I've no time for that. Like, look, there's a difference between him being very kind of accomplished and it being appealing drawing. I'm just not a fan of Hogarth. Loomis more so. I think Loomis was, yeah, I can get behind Loomis. And Bridgman, just not a big fan of the book. Find it overly verbose and not very engaging as far as a student, for me. Maybe your experience is different, but could never get behind it. That's great, T2. Glad those helped. Is learning anatomy how it reacts on the skin? Will that be enough, or we got to learn deeply? Well, you essentially, what you want to learn is you want to learn surface anatomy, right? You don't need to, you know, there's going to be a lot of ideas that are happening under the skin which are never going to reveal themselves in a meaningful way, you know, on the outside or on the surface of the form. But the thing with learning anatomy is you'll find that you'll get a lot of mileage out of knowing a few basic ideas. And then, at least in my experience, then kind of like over time, you know, you'll get presented with something in a drawing or that you're not quite sure about, and you'll take a quick look at an anatomy book. And then, you know, the deeper understanding, the deeper kind of knowledge base really takes quite a long time. But it happens over time, and it happens very organically. And it's not really kind of conscious studying, if that makes sense, or at least it wasn't in my case. It's more like, oh, what's going on this particular part, and then I learn one like small thing a day, right? Rather than, you know, I'm not setting the medical bar here or anything. So I learn what's useful to me, and what I see also, I tend to try and study things that I see happening repeatedly on the form. It's like, okay, I keep seeing that in different poses. What's going on there? I want to understand it a little bit deeper. But in saying all of that, I made a really conscious effort of just, for a while, of just saying, okay, I want to learn this, I want to understand it. And putting in the, you know, putting in the effort, doing anatomical studies and that type of thing. So it really depends what it is that you're trying to do. Here's the other thing. you know, let's say you want to be a character designer for animation. You don't need to learn all of this stuff. Learn some basic ideas. It's more important that you understand things like shape language and that type of idea. Much, much more important than understanding all the anatomy. Depends what you're trying to do. This dude's surprisingly defined for being so lean. He's got that gymnast energy, doesn't he? Must be a rock climber, gymnast, something like that. Yeah, for sure. I agree. What about Frédéric Delavere? I don't know Frédéric Delavere, Margot. I'll have to check that out. It's actually a strength training book, but very illustrative. I'm not aware of it. I'll take a look at that. Thanks for the heads up. I like Bridgman's chunky forms. Hogarth too comic booky for me anyways. Yeah, kind of. I would agree with that. It's a fair assessment. Okay, let's get in and give this guy a little bit of tone. Where are we at time-wise? 20 minutes. I think we'll just go, you know, a few more here. We'll just finish up on this one. Fun drawing. Great pose. Excuse me. Now obviously on the reference he is wearing undergarment. I'm going to leave it off, kind of like the full form. Don't really want to interrupt the flow of the image with, you know. Aditya, thank you. Aishin recommended it, huh? Okay. Yeah, cool, I should check it out. Bern Hogarth does anatomy where the human body is all muscle and no bones. Well, Hogarth tended to exaggerate things to the point that it did get cartoonish. I agree. You know, a lot of people love that work. I thought it was cool when I was 14, but got over it pretty quick. To me, it just feels too cartoony. I think that's as good a way of putting it as any, frankly. So just a little blend here and there. Hey, do me a favor, I'm curious if there's any of you still here. Those of you who have never seen the stream before, this is your first time. How did you see the stream? Was it recommended? or how? I'm just curious. Is YouTube actually recommending it, or did someone recommend it to you? Or, yeah, let me know. It's actually, it does need a little bit of cast shadow just along here. And then we'll call it on this one. See, 23 minutes, look at that. Not quite 3 hours, but for us, it's quite a long pose. Okay, I'm gonna call it. Cool. Was looking for figure drawings. Thank you, Noah. Thanks for telling me. That's great to hear, Capybara. Good stuff. Comic book artist suggestion. Thank you, Dearman. Searched. Good stuff. YouTube recommended. Recommended. Okay. Good to hear, thank you. Okay. Oh. Next pose. Ooh. Ah, shoot. I forgot my board, my other board, my landscape board. Excuse me just 1 second while I retrieve it. You're going to hear lots of microphone noise now. Apologies. Okay. Yeah, we are moving to landscape. Well, thank you, Zulman. Appreciate that. And thanks to your friend for recommending it. It's appreciated. And do me a favor, if you would, let more people know. That would be fantastic. Because we've got quite the little community going here, but it's good if it grows. It's good for everyone. All right, we are going to move to a seated/lying pose. So you could say. Just move that over slightly. There we go. Is that light good enough? Maybe that helps slightly. All right. I think that pencil's done. Let's get a fresh stick here. All right. Reset the timer. This is a very long pose. He's really coming across what would be the entire geography of the page. I am going to focus from kind of the shoulders down to about the knee, because I'd rather draw those a little bit bigger and have a little bit. Oh, and I bought this up on the Discord the other day, but I'm going to just repeat it here. generally speaking, and there's a few people that I think do this, and it's understandable because, you know, you may either not really have ever thought about it or whatever, but you see the way I'm drawing on A2 here. I would strongly suggest when you're learning figure drawing, especially if you're drawing overhand, like I am, the overhand is key to this conversation, to draw it larger. I see a lot of people that are drawing kind of maybe about what would be about this size. The problem with that is you're not giving yourself any real estate to play in, right? It's like trying to do ballet, you know, in a phone box. If you want to have an idea and to explore an idea and for that idea to breathe, you've far more chance of that being successful if you're drawing larger. It's another huge pro to overhand drawing and the scale that it allows you to draw at. There's a place for small drawing, right? There's a place for sketchbooks and all of that. But if you're studying figure drawing and you want to develop that as an art in its own right, and you're still developing that skill set, you're going to find it much easier, genuinely much easier if you draw bigger. This is the smallest I generally like to work these days. So just something to keep in mind, you know. By the way, are you looking your Instagram DMs? I occasionally look at Instagram DMs more often than not, to be honest. I'm not doing critiques on drawings for people, to be honest, right now. Like maybe for members on Discord, the odd time I'll give my 2 cents on something, but I'm not just giving unsolicited feedback, I'm afraid. It's beyond the scope of what we're trying to do here, and if you want to book a one-on-one session with me through my website, I'll be more than happy to give you my undivided attention for half an hour, and I'll do draw overs and all of that good stuff. I can't though, because if I start doing that, like, it's all my day will be. I just don't have the time. Sorry. Okay, upper torso to about here. That's lower torso. So that'll get me in the ballpark. Our center line is about here. Coming down. Something like that. Clavicle, so manubrium is here, pit of the neck. Clavicle's coming up this way. Head of the humerus is sitting around there. A lot of tension on this clavicle as it goes up this way. This one's far more relaxed, kind of more sitting here, because this arm is just draped down here and coming across his form there. But this arm is going down this way. And he's sitting on a box, which is about here. You can't see, his hand would be down off camera there. Okay, A2 is 16 by 23. Yeah, that sounds right. And I'm doing 11 by 14. So you're essentially working at half the size. So I guess I need to up my game. Margot, if you're drawing overhand, the way that I am, once again, something I would strongly suggest, I should really start the timer. Something I would strongly suggest as you're developing, you know, this skill set. Yeah, I think you do need to up your game. What's WTF the smallest? Well, you mean the smallest? Here's the thing. It's not about giving you exact dimensions. I could be drawing these half this size, right? I could quite easily, well, it's you know, if this was let's say this page was split down the middle here, right? That would be A3. That would be a sheet of A3 paper. Now, yes, I can draw. I've got plenty of examples of drawings where I've drawn a figure this size. The point being is, though, by the time that you've, I don't want to wreck this drawing by doing it, but by the time you've drawn a figure, let's say you want to put in the whole figure here, right? So from shoulders, or even like top of head, down to feet down here. That means that your torso is going to be about that big, right? About, what, 5 to 6 inches. And in that torso, you've got to draw a rib cage, you've got to draw a pelvis, or the area for a pelvis, the area for a rib cage. You've got to draw all of that all of those anatomical ideas, and get life into the pose, and then tone, and blah, blah, blah. It's like working on a postage stamp, right? Why not give yourself more breathing space, so that when you've come to an anatomical idea that you want to develop, you're not doing this, right? You're not like, oh, okay, well, I think the pectoral muscle's there, and this is not going to work. Just my 2 cents. Take it for what you will, but that's my feeling on it. And I actually think personally, I think it's a very important point. Okay, sternum coming down. We've got the arch of the rib cage sitting in roughly around here. That'll certainly get us in the ballpark. Okay, coming down. And then, yeah, oblique is sitting, well, sorry, iliac crest sitting here with the oblique sitting on top of it. Coming around the formiasis, coming there, and then, yeah, coming down to our inguinal ligament, attaching down at the pubic bone down there. So that's about right. Navel is going to be sitting right here where I put that line initially, so that's correct. Okay. Then he's sitting on this board, which is flattening out the muscle there. And this leg is coming out this way, kind of coming towards us. As I said, I'm only drawing so far, so the knee is probably about here. Then that leg goes down in that direction. And this other leg kind of sitting there and going off that way. Okay. Deltoid, once again, attaching about 2/3 of the way along the clavicle. About here. And that's coming down, attaching to the humerus down here. Sitting there roughly. Bicep. Coming down this way. And meeting up with the elbow. Coming down like that. Triceps sitting in this region here. Sternocleidomastoid, oh not sternocleidomastoid, sorry, brachioradialis, then coming down that way. Pectoral muscle coming down. Big stretch on that, on this side. Okay. What is your board leaning on? Well, you're working overhand. Okay. Sorry. One method, consentaneous. One method I learned for get flowing lines is to lightly hold a pencil on the pads of my index, middle thumb, not quite holding it rigid loosely. Yeah, sure, that'll work. Why not? You should see what I do to faces drawing overhand A4. Drawing faces overhand on A4 is going to run you into some trouble. That would be my guess, unless you're saying you should see what I do amazing work with them. But if you're not, that's why. There's a lot there that you need to work with, that needs to be kind of corrected. What is your board leaning on? Well, Margot, my board, the one that I use for live streams, I kind of made this custom little kind of angled thing that it sits on. I actually glued it to it because I need the same angle for every stream. But honestly, if I was you, or what I would do if I wasn't doing a stream, is I would just take my board and I just put it on my lap, one edge on my lap and the other leaning against the edge of a table, and I would just adjust my distance from the table to find the optimum angle, and then you're done. Simple. Okay. A lot of chatter. It's good. It's nice to have conversations. Okay, so oblique is coming down that way, as we said, and that's sitting in this region in here. Yeah, that stomach is kind of coming in here, a bit of compression to that. Although this guy's so lean, there's really very little, but you do get a sense of that going on. That's another thing, guys, for those of you who are regulars and you're members and all of that, I'd like to see a little bit more evidence of the center line through the form, the rib cage and that type of thing in your drawing. I see a lot of people kind of sometimes do it, sometimes they don't. It's just going to make life a lot easier. The center line tells us so much. That you're really kind of, you're making life harder for yourself by not putting it in, really. Because if you know where the center line is, you can really subdivide the two sides of the form in a very kind of logical and meaningful way. So this forearm coming down, wrist is about here, and then his hand is sitting out here. His hand is kind of sitting on the edge of the form there. Okay. Actually, my head is a mess. I need to fix it. So the head is actually over to here. And that is roughly in the right place. I think my head is just way too small. That's the problem. Okay. Head is actually to here. Okay, we'll fix that as we go. All right, let's get into it. Yeah, there you go, Margot, that's the way. It's ghastly, says Follow. That's why, man. You won't be able to draw heads at that scale with overhand. It's not going to happen. Trust me, if you saw drawings that I've done under those same conditions, you'd be embarrassed for me. Okay, let's get into this. Trapezius coming down to the head of the clavicle, then coming down to the deltoid. That's going to be sitting there. Okay. Pectoral. Sitting here and then coming down this way. This is where we're going to refine things, right? That's the idea. Deltoid. It's actually about out here. Sitting about like that. Biceps just kind of peeking behind the pectoral here. And kind of coming down this way. Meeting up with the forearm. Coming down into the thumb, sitting down there. Okay. I'm going to come back to the exterior edge of that arm in a minute. I think there's more important things for right now. Clavicle coming up, then kind of meets up with the deltoid. All right, not into this quirky music. All right, let's keep going. Manubrium. Clavicle is coming up this way. Deltoid's coming down this way. Okay, pectoral muscle, big stretch. Sitting in somewhere like that. Bicep, fat pad, and coming down. Look how straight that bicep is. A little push out right there as it comes down this way. Something like that. Deltoid sitting in there. Tricep. And we've got brachialis coming in here, meeting up with the forearm coming down this way. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay. Tends to happen when I'm just not conscious of just quite how much pressure I forget how much pressure I'm putting on the pencil. Before I know it, I've gone too far. Okay, something like that. Now, latissimus, I need to pull this sucker in. About here. about there. I feel like my torso is too short. It is too short. It's way too short. That's a drag. Full mane, as you can see. Sometimes I don't get my proportions right. Now, can I fix it? I think I can. I think I can. So I'm going to. I think a little fix will actually go a long way. I'm going to do something I almost never do, and I'm just going to knock back the density of that line just with a kneaded eraser. Just that's enough, just so it doesn't have quite so much aggression to it. And I'm going to pull, look, I don't have much room to work with here, but I think I can pull the oblique down to here. That's going to help. Yeah, I'll get away with that. It's not ideal, but when we're all said and done, it shouldn't matter too much. It's unfortunate though. Okay. So, knee is about there, so I pulled at that and pulling that in just a little bit too. So it's about here. See, too much talking, not enough focus. That's what happens. So with that done, ASUS comes around this way. Something like that. Yeah, it happens. Okay, so I think I can pull this navel down just a tiny bit. Down to about there. All right. Such is life. The arm laying against the body is driving me crazy. Well, it's tricky, right? Like, yeah, yeah, it's not easy. Okay. Just making some on-the-fly small revisions to this hand. Okay, let's clarify some of this. And then there's this bite tricep. And it's sitting in there. Yeah, not thrilled with this one. Okay, it is what it is. Made my bed and all that. All right, serratus coming in this way. Meeting up with the rib cage and then coming down. So we get some really nice overlap there. Yeah, bit of a mess. It happens. This music's a bit too much. So interesting as this form turns here at the navel, it goes from being kind of in tone, then into light, and then it'll travel back down into tone. So you can hopefully be mindful of that. So this whole kind of rib cage area is kind of in tone. It's interesting. Like a dime piece, you use a razor. That's funny. Yeah, like what? Maybe second or third time in 100 streams. It has to be pretty drastic for me to. Because you know, here's the thing: you can just usually fix things, and you're never going to see the original error, if you know what I mean. You can just make an adjustment and can keep moving on with your day, but sometimes, every now and then, it's like, okay, this is just too dark, needs to be erased. Alright, I'm done with this drawing. I'm not very happy with it. And when I'm done with a drawing, I tend to lose interest. And when I lose interest, that's kind of the end of that. In the interest of just seeing it through, we'll say, I'll throw a bit of tone onto this thing, but if this was not live stream, I would just have abandoned this drawing probably about 10 minutes ago. And this is pretty much all in tone out here. Hype of Tyler the Creator. I don't know what that means. Sorry, no. Tyler the Creator, is that someone on YouTube? And what do you mean, hype off them? Explain yourself. Yeah, he's an artist. All right, well, that's great. Now, what do you mean hype off Tyler the Creator? I'm not sure what you mean. You advertising his channel on my chat? Is that what's happening here? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, he's a rapper, is he? Nice. Oh, Kit Lee says, I think they mean they're in a good mood from listening. Hype. Okay, I get that. All right. Yeah. Thank you for the heads up for this old man. That makes sense. Hype. All right. Not hype from watching me draw now. I'm kidding. I wouldn't be after watching me just create this monster, but anyway, it is what it is. It's one of those. It had a bit of everything: trials, tribulations, unexpected challenges, unexpected proportion issues. But we made it 30 minutes later. Yikes. Well, that was doesn't look too bad on the screen. Looks worse in person. And we have another lying down pose coming up, or another stretched out. Oh no, this one's not too bad. Okay, good. Yikes. Sir, you are the West figure, I'm guessing you mean best. Hopefully you mean best instead of West figure drawing teacher on YouTube. Aditya, I'm going to take that as best figure drawing teacher on YouTube because I choose to, whether that's what you meant or not. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Genuinely, I do appreciate it. Can I call myself an artist when they ask? I feel like I'm never going to call myself an artist. Do you create art? Then you're an artist. Of course. There's no, you know, look, Zulmain, you're going to have a lot of, you've got a long journey ahead of you. I certainly wouldn't, like, by all means, call yourself an artist. You are an artist. If you create art, you're an artist. The fact that you're a young artist does not prevent you from being an artist. But don't worry about all these things. Just draw, just paint, just create your art. Don't worry about, like, if I worried about what people call me, I'd be in trouble. Because I'm sure there's people that call me all kinds of things. Guess what? I don't care. If people like what I do, great. If they don't, that's fair. I get it. Many times I don't like what I create either. That is all part of the journey, my friend. Just enjoy the process. It's all you can do. All right. I think we're going to have to, in the spirit of actually getting this stream done today, we need to speed things up a little. We can't be doing any more 30-minute poses today, especially if we're going to invest 30 minutes on something like that. Good Lord. We've got about 30 minutes left, so I'm thinking we're probably looking at about a couple of 15s. Let's aim for that, huh? I got it, Aditya. Thank you. Now it says, don't be so judgmental on yourself. Gee, keep that head up. Don't know if you're talking to me. My head's fine. Thanks, Noah. And don't be so judgmental on myself. I live in a constant state of self-judgment. Nothing you are going to say is going to change that, Noah. But appreciate your effort of trying. I think a little bit of self-judgment is good. In fact, there's many people out there in the world that could use a little more self-judgment, self-reflection. You know what I mean. A few too many people going through life without any self-assessment of their actions. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. Let's do this. We did this pose about 6 months ago, I think. I'm revisiting it because, well, there are some poses that just speak to me. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be any good, but, you know, there are some poses, you know, like, it's no different to, like, music. You know, there are songs that you revisit, you like them, and you want to experience them again and again. I actually have a few poses that I feel that way about. Especially if I feel like the first time I didn't quite say all that I wanted to say with it. I'll quite happily revisit a pose to see if there's more to be had out of that particular conversation. Why not? Head is right down. We look, for those of you who don't have the reference, this is a back pose. He's obviously sitting here. Not a ton of information in the back, not too bad, but we're going to add some anatomical knowledge that we know to be there to give, hopefully, to bring some visual interest. Scapula sitting about here and here. Now, in fairness, I actually did enjoy the process the last time I drew this pose, and I actually was quite relatively satisfied with the final image. In fact, I believe I have it as the thumbnail for this stream. So there you go. I think I did that deliberately. So you can check that out, or you can see it, I think, on my website, somewhere like that, if you care. But yeah, seemed like, why not? Hit those greatest hits. This latissimus, so deltoid is coming down this way. Latissimus is sitting in here all chunky like. And then meeting up with that and the oblique. So actually I think I'm a little high here. I think I need to pull down to about here. You won't see the eraser come out though for this one. This can happen on the fly. Somewhere in there. So, the trapezius coming down, really interesting shapes going on in this area, from not only from the trapezius but also those four muscles that we talked about earlier. Do you remember their names? What are the names of the four muscles of the scapula? Come on. I mentioned them just a while back. I don't expect you to type all that out, don't worry. I'm just playing. Something like that. Wrist is about there. Okay. So, trapezius coming down. Then we got the deltoid sitting in here. Before we get that in though, I wanted to actually just cement this latissimus. That's sitting there, then stomach, and then the oblique sitting about there. That's nice. Okay. Tensor fasciolate is sitting in here. Gluteus medius, ba ba ba. Okay. Well, let's keep going. Deltoid. Sitting there. Bicep sitting in there. I remember teres major, teres minor. Very good, Margot. Yes, and then infraspinatus and supraspinatus, or supraspinatus. Yes. Very good. Yeah, teres minor, teres major, infraspinatus, supraspinatus. Good to know. Now, if I had gold stars, I could give you one. These little vertebrae up here that reveal themselves in this region here, which is where the trapezius thins out. You see this kind of little triangular area, right? The trapezius connects up at the what's called the occipital ridge up here, right? But just in this region, it thins out and we see vertebra. And what we're seeing is C7 and T1, cervical 7 and thoracic 1, which is where the neck and the rib cage, the vertebra of the neck and the vertebra of the rib cage meet. Also good to know. The occipital ridge is right there, where the neck attaches to the head. So we're learning loads today. And we're not even trying to learn, we're just learning by accident. We're at 10 minutes. I said 15, didn't I? Can we keep that promise? That's the question everyone wants to know the answer to. Let's see. Gluteus maximus meeting up with something called the iliotibial tract. So the tensor fasciolate, which attaches at the aces, kind of comes down this way. Gluteus maximus comes down this way. And then that very flat plane on the side of your leg right there, that's the iliotibial tract, and it's kind of like a fascia type material that sits on top of the muscle, so the under there gives that kind of flattish appearance to the side of your leg. So there you go, another little tidbit. Hamstring coming down this way, meeting up with the calf, sitting in there. So, you know, you get a bunch of these kind of little ideas and you string them together, and you know, your drawing suddenly like kind of materializes into something more than it was going to be without that knowledge. Somehow, in my mind at least. And then this leg, this calf, going down this way. All right, just a few more minutes. Maybe we'll go over it a tiny bit, but let's see. Now, once again, we got lighting coming from both sides. You know I'm not a fan. I'm gonna just pick one. I'm gonna pick the lighting as if it's coming from this direction here. And I'm gonna put on my conceptual lighting hat. And I'm gonna light accordingly. Because I don't like multiple light sources on figure drawing, generally speaking, because I think it gets real confusing. So I'm making up my own lighting, because then that way I have control over it, and hopefully it'll work. And generally speaking, it tends to, I think. Little bit of half tone, just, you know, trying to find half tone in the lit side of the form, and then obviously tone in the shadow side of the form, which tends to be a little bit more complete, for want of a better term. And it's a little bit of a cheat. Would the light be doing this 100%? You can make a strong argument for that not being the case, but if it helps describe form, that's my number one priority. Obviously you want it to look correct, but it can look correct without necessarily being correct. I saw a Rembrandt at the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, and on the one painting, there's got to have been at least 4 or 5 different different kind of areas where light was coming from, which was just clearly not possible, but it worked. It absolutely worked. So we can cheat a little. the beauty of art. You can get away with things. Oh, we're at 16 minutes. Well, that's okay. Quick blend, we'll call it for this one. But, you know, I think that kind of works. Works well enough. Yeah. All right. Fun pose to draw. Okay. We got one last pose. A complicated one. Should have picked an easier pose for the last pose. Silly me. All right, I'm going to just take a time out really quickly and sharpen this pencil because it needs that. Well, I don't have my sandpaper handy, do I? Yes, I do. I'm taking you with me. Here. Okay. What is this, Lord of the Rings? It's gonna have to go. Oh, that wasn't good. All right, sorry guys. I could just move to a different pencil, but I'm really enjoying these, so you're just gonna have to bear with me again. That other one just broke on me. You can't rush the process of sharpening these pencils, because if you do, it always ends badly. You know, we're not whittling a piece of wood here out in the forest. We're trying to do something a little more surgical. That's good enough. Good enough for now. Quick sand. Fun stuff, huh? I can never get a sharp point with these 6B extra soft generals. Chris, look what I'm doing. Watch and learn, my friend. So I'm basically just old nail file here. I sharpened, I revealed the appropriate amount of charcoal, and now I'm just very lightly getting a nice sharp tip. Just rotating the pencil as I go. Something like that. Good enough. I do like to also just brush off the excess, or wipe off the excess charcoal when I'm done with that. Okay, Philmaine says, I'm using Blackwin 2-point sharpener. All right, you know, personally, this is once again very much a personal, very much a personal preference, but I don't like using mechanical sharpeners. I actually have an electric sharpener which can do like long, you know, long points. Not keen. I'd like to just get a blade to the pencil. It gives me a connection with it somehow. All right, start the timer. Quick sip of tea. We're going to aim roughly for 15. This is going to be a long, long stream. Anyway, let's see. I'm going to draw a little bit smaller for this one because I do want to get on at least a good portion of what's going on. Upper, lower, sitting roughly there. Iliac. Rib cage. This arm is going down this way, across. This leg, knees about here. This leg going down this way. This leg going up this way. And this arm is sitting on top of this knee. So we need to make sure the relationship between those two is about right. It's going to get us in the ballpark. Head down, maybe not that much, about there maybe. Once again, just placeholders for right now. Deltoid sitting in here. Really do need to make this one no more than 15 because I'm going to have to go pick up my better half from the train station. Get that nice chunky latissimus sitting in there. Coming in, oblique, sitting in here. You're very welcome, Margot. Take care. I'll see you soon. All right. Cheers. Okay, pectoral. Deltoid, bicep, sternocleidomastoid. Okay. Tensor fasciae latae, gluteus. Gluteus medius, gluteus maximus. Sitting in here. scapula is sitting in there, just slightly above the latissimus there. Actually, we can kind of see the manubrium right here. Sternocleidomastoid coming up this way. Ear. So actually the head is out here. Alright. That's going to get me in the ballpark where I need to be. Okay, let's do this. Where will I start? I'll start with this pectoral. Coming out this way, sitting in here. Rib cage. Tricep sitting in here. Bicep. Deltoid. Clavicle. Deltoid. Coming into the bicep, sitting in there. And that hand is sitting there. Okay. Tricep. This is the kind of pose it really could have used like a 30-minute, 25, 30-minute pose. It's just there's a lot of nuance that's going to get lost in a faster pose like this, or at least from my hands. So that's unfortunate. Anyway, it is what it is. It's the last pose of the session. We normally try and finish with a relatively straightforward pose. This is kind of unusual. But I picked something quite complex here. I should have given it a little bit more thought. But anyway. Still an interesting pose nonetheless. muscles sitting on top of the tibia. Coming down to our foot. Okay, where does this other leg connect? Out here. Where are we at? 11 minutes. Cool. I'm getting there. Okay. Quick blend. It just takes a lot of mapping out with a pose like this. So it's, as I said, it's not ideal for a shortish pose, but it is what it is. Alright guys, so there may be a daily tomorrow, which is, there we go, 15. So what we do the two, for those of you who are new to the stream, on Mondays and Thursdays we do the long stream like today. And then occasionally I do dailies, which I usually announce on the day. And with those, they're shorter, usually about an hour in length, and I put the poses on the screen. So the poses are generally censored, as in they're wearing coverings to some degree. But at least you can see the reference as I draw. So I'll probably do one of those tomorrow. I will post a few hours beforehand. You'll see the notification. So if you don't get notifications, it's a good thing to turn on so that you can be aware of when those are, because it tends to vary on the day whether I do them or not. You know, it's usually in a spur of the moment type of thing. So yeah. So as I said, most likely I'll do one of those tomorrow, because then we'll have the weekend, and you know, there won't be another stream till Monday. So that's why it's nice to do a quick Friday one. Please spread the word about the stream if you enjoy this. Also, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button on your way out the door, it'd be much appreciated. You could even hit the subscribe button too if you're feeling so inclined. That was a long one today. Good workout. Some very interesting poses, some tough ones. We had some ups and downs, but I think all in all it went well. I hope you enjoyed it. So until next time, take care of yourselves. All right, keep drawing. See you soon. Cheers. Bye.